You're listening to Sip and Grow the podcast, the show where we taste awesome, delicious wines while having unfiltered conversations about our passions, experiences, struggles, entrepreneurship, and life. My name is Nicole Di Pasquale, and I'm a wine enthusiast just trying to pursue her passions and dreams while taking you on the journey with me, one episode at a time. My ultimate goal is to not only bring you wine knowledge and value, but also inspire you to enjoy your process and journey in pursuing your passions and dreams. Because guess what? The person you become while enduring the process is more important. So sit back, grab a glass, and let's sip and grow together. Welcome back to another episode of Sip and Grow with me, your host, Nicole Di Pasquale. I'm excited for today because this is the first time I'm going to bring a white wine into the picture, or not the first time, maybe the second time. Well, this is the first time I'm going to do a Greek wine. So for the most part, I've always drank either like Italian wines, Argentinian wines, or American wines. I have tried a couple of French wines, and I think that's about it. Oh, I have tried like maybe one German wine, but I would say I'm not well versed in German wines or Australian wines or New Zealand wines, and I'm trying to expand that now and kind of learn about all of them. And I was at the wine store the other day and I really wanted to bring something that I had no idea about. And I came across the Greek section of wines and I did some research and I decided to go with a very common grape. This one is called Assyrtiko. If I'm saying it wrong and you know how to say it right, please correct me, but I think that's how you pronounce it. It's spelled Assyrtiko. And supposedly it's like one of the most important grape varietals in Greece. So I was like, you know what? Let's do an episode on this bad boy. And it's exciting because I think I taste more red wines on here than white wines. So this one's a white wine. And reading into it, it is a dry white wine. So this one specifically is from the vineyard is called Anato. Oh my God, Anatonikos, I think is how you pronounce it. Anatonikos Vineyards. I will definitely put a picture and write it in the description just because I feel like sometimes I'm massacring some of these words, but we're going to have all the information up on the notes and I'll definitely insert a little picture of the label so that you guys can see it for yourself. But this is a 2020 vintage and it does say that it is an unfiltered wine, and in the back it does have a vegan stamp to it. So I was reading into this vineyard and they are organic certified, and they tend to do vegan or vegetarian friendly wines. And I kind of was like, well, let's explain. I thought about explaining what an unfiltered wine is. And, you know, it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean, I feel like a lot of people think that when they see that it's like organic and vegan and it says unfiltered, then they're like, oh, it's probably healthier for me or whatever. Doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just the process of how they made the wine. And unfiltered basically means that they didn't remove any of the sediments that were left in the wine after fermentation. They didn't remove any of those sediments and they just left it there. So usually the wine might look a little bit more cloudy, or you'll see like this one's actually pretty good because I was looking at the bottom of the bottle and I didn't see any sediments here. But sometimes if you look at a bottle and you see sediments on the bottom, it's most likely because it was not filtered, or if it was, some of the sediments stayed in the wine and then ended up getting into the bottle when the wine was bottled. So let me take a couple of steps back and explain to you. So when you collect the grapes and you start like the fermenting process, like fermenting the wine basically. After fermentation ends, and there's two types of fermentations, which I'll do another episode on just the entire process from start to finish on that. But basically, there's like the initial ethanol fermentation, and then after there's the malolactic fermentation, and that this is just for like red and white wines. There's another fermentation process for like champagne, but for the most part, every wine has those two fermentation processes always happening. So first you have the ethanol one, then you have the malolactic acid fermentation, which is like the second fermentation that not many people talk about. But regardless, my point is, after the entire fermentation process is done or completed, there's some particles left in the wine. So usually what winemakers do is they either filter the wine by using, which I actually got to see that entire process like second or third week I was here, because they had a wine from last year that they wanted to filter because the turbidity. There's this term called turbidity, and basically what turbidity means is like you're measuring the clarity of the wine. So there's a certain number that each winemaker or whatever vineyard, wine cellar, whoever's making the wine producer, like has a specific turbidity number or range that they want to be in for their wines, and that has to do with just your preference on how you like your wine to look, and you know, and how you like your wine to like feel, because a lot of the times if a wine isn't unfiltered and all these sediments are left in there, not only does the wine look a little bit cloudy, but it also like changes the mouth feel and the texture of the wine, just because it's not as crystal clear as it can be. So this is the reason why a lot of winemakers tend to do this step of either filtering the wine, or they do something that's called like racking the wine. So I haven't personally seen that process yet, just because we just finished our first full week in harvest. I would say we have about, I think, yeah, the winemaker told us we have like half of our grapes in, and then we just have the next half to do basically. But we've already started the fermentation process, and some of them are already fermenting. The others, we're just waiting for them to start fermenting. But I believe he does rack the wines here, and the way they do that is you're basically, what racking wine means is once the fermentation process is finished, you extract the wine. So like when the fermentation process is finished, you have to wait for like the sediments and the yeast, or usually the sediments and the yeast naturally fall to the like bottom of the tank. So when you rack the wine, you're basically extracting the wine from the tank into another tank or an oak barrel, depending on how you're aging the wine, right? And sometimes, so this is where the whole, like, I have people always ask me, like, what makes a wine vegan or vegetarian or whatever. So usually, sometimes if they don't naturally fall all the way to the bottom, you have to add maybe like a fining agent to kind of push down the rest, or take away the rest. And in these fining products, sometimes they are either like milk or egg or like animal derived products, and that's what would essentially make them non-vegan, because those products are made from that. But I feel like now that's changing and evolving into a lot of people just using vegetable-based products versus like animal-based products. So that's really between that and maybe like when I did my oak barrel tour, they said sometimes like the glue that they use for the oak barrels might have like an animal product in there. But for the most part, a lot of barrel places use like flour-based glue or something. That's what I understood from the tour. But anyways, so what I would highly recommend is, if you are vegan and it's something that resonates with you, to like make sure you drink vegan wines, because I do have vegan friends that aren't super strict about the wines they drink, but I do know other people that are super strict with the wines they drink. If you are someone that's looking for a specific like vegan wine, I highly recommend you just checking the labels to see if they have like a vegan stamp, or you can also go on their website and just kind of, a lot of these producers on their website, they have the entire process of like the details of what goes into making the wine. So you can just check on there and see and make sure that none of that the wine is vegan, because if it is, it will say it on their website or on their label. But anyways, so an unfiltered wine isn't necessarily bad for you. It's just not gonna have that clarity that a lot of winemakers want to have in their wine. It's gonna, maybe you'll have sediments in there that you'll drink, or and you'll see it. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a wine before and you see like some sediments at the end of your wine. It doesn't mean the wine is bad. It just means either it's an unfiltered wine, or some of the sediments stayed in there, even if the wine was filtered or extracted, racking, like, or if the wine was like racked, basically. So if like this one, yeah, this one has no, I don't see any sediments. I guess now when I pour it, we'll see if it's a little bit cloudy. But the other reason why a lot of winemakers tend to not leave it unfiltered and filter it or rack the wine is because there is bacteria that's like attached to these sediments that can risk the wine going bad faster. So in a lot of winemakers are like, why am I going to risk this spoiling faster if I can just, you know, get rid of that problem and have it last longer? So if you do come across an unfiltered wine, I would highly recommend that you probably drink it sooner than later, just because it can spoil in the bottle. That's one of the risks of having an unfiltered wine. But it isn't bad. It isn't bad for you. The bacteria that are left in the sediments aren't necessarily bad for you. It's just preference, and also it is high risk to have an unfiltered wine for that specific reason. Because if it does spoil in the bottle and then you open it, you're not gonna have nice aromas. You're not gonna like, it's not gonna taste how it should be tasting. And we don't want that. We want your wine to taste delicious. And we want it to look pretty too. But this one was, so this one, the, like I said, the Assyrtiko, I'm gonna try, I need to like say that 100 times to make it seem natural for me to say. But the Assyrtiko grape is, like I said, is one of the most important varietals in Greece, and it actually originated in Santorini, and then it kind of like spread from there. But this one specifically is in a region called Thrace, spelled Thrace. So it's in a region in Thrace, Thrace, Italy, Thrace, Greece, and it is in an area called Avdira, Avdira, Avdira. And they actually have, so I was reading up on the region. It's very hot and dry, the climate in that specific area. And most of their wines, well, what I was reading about this one, it's a very acidic, like highly acidic wine. So we'll probably get a lot of tart flavors coming out of there, a lot of bitter flavors. I'm excited because I usually tend to like dry white wines more than sweet white wines. So I feel like I'll really like this one. And the soil is very fertile there. So it's really good soil for viticulture. And yeah, let's go ahead and open this. This is the first time, well, not the first time I see this, but I haven't seen a bottle like this in a while, where they have the little, it's like a little thing that you can pull here to just kind of take the top off. So I appreciate that. It just makes everything 10 times easier to open the bottle. Let's go ahead and open this. Today is like beautiful. It's 68 degrees outside right now currently. I actually chilled this wine at 51 degrees. Yeah, 51. I put it at 50, but the temperature of the fridge I have didn't want to change, so it's at 51. But usually like white dry wines, what you want to do is store them between like 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's on the sweeter side or if it's like champagne, you'll probably want to go into the 40s. So like if it's champagne, I would want to do probably like between 40 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's a sweet wine, I'd probably do 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, around there. And this is all like white wine based. Red wines is a little different. I tend to like my red wines between like 55, 60. But that's totally up to you. But for the most part, those are the ranges, and you just have to find your sweet spot and go with that, you know? All right, let's pour this up. Okay. So this color is immediately like, it looks like pee. So this is what I'm talking about. If you have an unfiltered wine, you're probably not gonna have, I mean, it's very clear. So it's not the clear, it almost looks like orange wine, which I tried orange wine a couple weeks ago and it wasn't my favorite. So I'm a little scared. But I know this is supposed to be a dry white wine. But I don't know, do you guys see this? Like, it looks like pee. Oh my God, Jesus, help me. Take the wheel. We haven't tasted it, Nicole. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We haven't tasted it. I just don't like how it looks. It does not look appetizing. It just looks like I'm drinking my own pee. All right. Let's go ahead and smell it. We're done being dramatic. Let's get back to the wine tasting. Okay. Okay, so a lot of citric scents. I'm picking up definitely like crisp apple, even like a melon, like a green melon. Even like hints of like honey in there. I feel like a little bit of honey, but I have like I smell the crisp like apple, melon, like very juicy, crispy, citricy fruits. I'm getting a lot of that. And then there's like a hint of sweetness from honey in there. And then this is weird, but I even smell like a hint of vanilla, like just a little touch of vanilla in there. Let's go ahead and taste it. But it's very crispy and tarty to the nose. So you definitely smell that it's a more acidic wine, just by the olfactory analysis of it. Let's go ahead and taste it. Oh. Oh my God. So confirmed on all the citric like fruits we just mentioned, the apple, the green apple, green melon. It almost has like a buttery texture to it. So it goes down nice and smooth, but you still have the highly like acidic taste left in your throat, if that makes sense. I really actually really like this, because it has like it's almost comforting to drink because of that buttery texture to it, but it's not like, it's not sweet at all. It's dry and very crisp to the feel, like once you drink it. So it's very fresh for me. and it's almost like comforting to drink because of that buttery texture that it has. I would definitely drink this with like a Mediterranean salad, or like a grilled octopus with this would be fire. 10 out of 10. I would even do like maybe like a cold seafood salad, like, I don't know, or like a lentil salad with seafood in there, like some fresh calamari, octopus, and just, I don't know, this is transporting me to being by the water somewhere, eating, like overlooking the water, eating some really fresh, delicious seafood. I, I really like this wine. It does not make me mad at all. I will be drinking more of this grape. And yeah, if you're willing and open to trying something different, something new, highly recommend Assyrtiko, the Assyrtiko grape variety from Greece. This one, I'll go ahead and link it in my description, like in the notes section for this episode. And I'll also put, I'll make sure I spell like the vineyard name right, but I'll put the website for the vineyard, which you can buy directly from there, but you can also see where in the United States you can go to buy this specific wine. Like I bought this at Bottle Barn here. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. The only thing I would say is, let's go back on the rating. I would give it an 8 out of 10 just because the color is off-putting to me. But that's a personal preference. Some people might not even care about it. But I really like this wine. I would definitely drink it, like I said, with some seafood on a hot day, overlooking, the water with just lunch with a nice view. This is that vibe. This is what this wine gives me. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.